everybody, good evening. Um, we cannot begin, of course, before you let me know if I'm audible. So, if you could just help me with that one bit of information, we will then begin with a superb session that we have. Well, at least I would like to call it superb. I don't know what your reviews are going to be about it, which I will know, of course, eventually when I read the comments. But until then, please give me a yes, a no, a thumbs up, whatever it is, whichever be the animated form that you feel is good enough, so that I know that you can hear me and that we may begin. Very quickly, I'll just check in the chat box and be back. And in the meantime, get up because what you have today is a very action fun packed 10-15 minutes, whatever it takes. So I'll just take a moment, check, and get back to you. Perfect. All right. Now that I have a confirmation from all of you, let us begin with what we have. Now, what we're going to be doing today is we will simultaneously try to understand what are the comparative struggles, comparative tortures, comparative pains, comparative stress management that happens for a dropper student and a school goer student. So here we are not going to try and blame anybody. It's an all positive session throughout, but we will just try and understand what are the things that a dropper faces in the entire day versus what are the kinds of things that a school goer faces. I tried to make it as relatable as I can. So towards the end, you will let me know if I've done a good job today or not. So let's do a peekaboo. Let's try and see what it looks like in the day of a dropper versus a day of a school goer. Now, this can be very effective for you if in case you think that you'd want to, take a drop maybe next year. Droppers, of course, cannot rewind time. So this might not help, but of course the school goers have an added advantage to it. But only if you understand and only if you commit to this routine which will eventually also become monotonous. It's going to be very effective academically, but then there's going to be a lot of redundancy also that might come in. So if you're ready to commit to all of that, maybe this could just be a little bit of a flavor for what future is going to look like. And with that note, let us begin. So what we have for today is a day in the life of a dropper versus a school goer. So let's see how the same battle by two different people are being fought and who fights it more effectively. Now, first things first, to make it easier, what I've done is I have reduced it into a timeline just so that we know what is happening at what time, because that's the only way we can draw a comparative analysis. Keep following up with what is happening just to see where do you find yourself in this routine. Let's see, 6 a.m. Now, of course, we have to get up at 6 a.m. We are all Indians. We live in Indian households. If you are getting up any later than 6 a.m., then you are not focused. So, which is why what I've done is to just ease it out completely. I have set it to 6 a.m. Also, guys, please understand, a lot of times we come up with these videos. Now, these videos are uniformly made, but to each his own. So, if you think that this doesn't fit for you, it's fine. No one shoe fits all की कोई tendency नहीं होती है CLAT में. So you'll have to make sure that you keep changing it as per your requirement. So don't just think that this is it. I just tried to figure out that this is what it mostly looks like. But you can of course be an exceptions, and all exceptions are really good. Let's begin with that. Now, a dropper's day, the next comparative degree is a schoolgoer's day that we have, and then I've also put in a why though. So it's like a reality check to figure out what is happening over here. Now, 6 a.m. of course, wakes up. What does a dropper do? Wakes up after multiple alarms, which is true. Every person, I think, in their phone has about 5-6 alarms, each after 5 minutes, right? Existential crisis हो जाता है, and सबसे पहले उठ के हम लोग सोचते हैं क्या आज का दिन productive होगा? Are we really going to be doing something? School goer को देखते हैं, wakes up with one alarm. एक alarm और मम्मी की एक final warning, उठ जाओ अब. And the school goer is up, right? No time to process, school awaits. So there is no procrastination. There can be no what life is going to look like. Fatafat, what you have to do is start getting up, ready for school. Droppers के साथ school का chaos नहीं होता. Plus point, win-win. School goer के साथ overthink करने का कोई time नहीं होता. Good stuff, because overthinking also is a killer machine in itself. Next, 7 a.m. तक We have, of course, morning study sessions. जो droppers start करते हैं, they like starting with maybe, the CLAT, whichever be the sectional they wish, and mostly GK because revision, fresh mind, all things together make sense. Start strong, but distractions hit. They start very strong. एक डेढ़ घंटे unperturbed focus रहते हैं. उसके बाद चिड़िया उड़ रही है, दीवार पे चिपकली है, सब चीजें देखने में बड़ा मजा आता है. Right? What do these people do? Breakfast, last minute homework, finding socks. उनको तो उनके socks ही नहीं मिल रहे होते. And उसी में सब कुछ, I mean, absolute multitaskers. What talent that they tend to, inculcate in that 7 a.m. where the bus is waiting and that they have to leave and all things there. So one has time but fights distraction. Of course, the dropper. The other fights time. The other one is just racing against time. Then comes the 8 to 2 window, which is typically for the dropper, coaching and self-study. 50% learning, of course, 50% overthinking, because every time you drop, you have immense pressure on yourself. You're all time like a pressure cooker. You're just on this judgmental, ice wherein you think that what is going to happen next, which is very common for a lot of us. School, this lecture, this test, and of course you're navigating school politics, school gossip happening, and the school time and everything all around the school. In between, if you get a little bit of time, maybe you'll pick up the editorial to read, or maybe solve a CLAT homework or something like that. But mostly it is all about school. Droppers, they have more study focused because they have more time to themselves. Schoolgoers, multitasking. Pros. Now, all of these are going to be attributes that will help you later in life. So don't think that, okay, I'm doing this. Is this a waste of time? No, what you're learning, there will be nothing else that will ever be able to teach you. So life is the biggest teacher. That's how it is said. Then let's come back to 2 p.m. Around this 2 p.m., the droppers have lunch. There is self-doubt. Am I studying enough? Because they always are constantly under this pressure that, there's a sense of proving. So there will always be this thing wherein क्या मैंने ठीक ठाक पढ़ाई की, क्या मैंने enough की. Lunchtime में these people see a mini Netflix episode, with friends, because obviously they want to chill. Their day has been much more rigorous than, of course, the droppers. So they also want to unwind a little bit. Droppers हमेशा isolated grind में रहते. They are always alone in the grind. School goers, team spirit moment. They at least have the friends around, and then they have people to be motivated and bucked up with. 3 to 6 p.m. Let's figure out what's happening in this window. Now, CLAT focus prep seems to be for the droppers. There's mock, there's RC, and of course, there is CR practice. Most of the people tend to also go to the libraries or study in the coaching libraries, and then there is silent panic inside them. So the kind of, it's visible on their face, the way they are just trying to gather themselves. They're just trying to contain themselves together. About the school ones, of course, then is where starts the coaching or the tuition, because once they're back from school is when, of course, they'll have the time to be able to do it. They'll be balancing school and CLAT prep, mock, sectionals, homework, everything. So for them, a 3 to 6 window or a 3 to 7 window is blasting. That's the amount of work that they have to do. It's copious. It's huge. Droppers fully focus on CLAT, of course. The schoolgoers handles multiple things. So the schoolgoer now has more on his plate to be able to handle it all. Let's go from 6 to 7 now. Here, droppers, they tend to take an evening walk, but the guilt kicks in. Mostly that's when you call home, speak to your parents, and the pressure again begins to build. For the schoolgoers, we have family time or extracurriculars, if in case you are into. Reality check. Droppers have freedom, but they lack family warmth. Schoolgoers have warmth, but of course they lack the time. Then from 7 to 9, mostly the droppers go back to study mode, mock revision, and they are always thinking, kash school ka time वापस आ जाता. Schoolgoers, there's dinner and family time. Of course, शर्मा जी का बेटा discussion begins. They're always wanting to, उनके बेटे ने क्या किया, उनके ने क्या किया, तुम कब करोगी? So obviously all of that. So those are all digestive gossips that we have. खाना नहीं होता हमारा इसके बिना. Droppers, more control over prep. Schoolgoers, better mental balance. So they're more sorted mentally that way. From 9 to 12 comes the mock, the analysis, of course, the reading. Burnout hits because they have been studying a lot since the whole day, or at least they've spread it out in such a manner, And there is always this one lingering, the one hovering thought that one has is plan B क्या होगा हमारा अगर ये नहीं हुआ तो क्या चलेगा. Schoolgoers tries to study but also exhausted. The schoolgoer now is when feels the most motivated to study, but of course the schoolgoer is so exhausted because he's had a long day. Reels for 10 minutes which turns to 40. So they're like, okay, let's pick up the phone. Instagram देखते हैं, कुछ देखते हैं, but वो 10 से 40 कब हो जाता है पता भी नहीं चलता है. Both are exhausted, just in different ways. Clearly. And 12:30 a.m. sleep, more like tossing and turning, worrying about the D-Day. So नींद आती नहीं है ड्रॉपर्स को. उनको लगता है कि कैसे होगा, क्या होगा. कितने लोग तो शायद रात में उठ के पढ़ने लगते होंगे वापस. Only to be able to ward off the guilt that is there. Schoolgoers, they sleep peacefully until the stress for tomorrow begins again. Different struggles, same stress. So this is how, this is what was a peekaboo into the day of a dropper versus a day in the schoolgoer's life. Now, what has been the final verdict, of course? Let's figure out all things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and see. In terms of freedom, if I were to talk about freedom, no school, no attendance stress, can study at own pace. So yes, there is a lot of freedom. More exposure, academics, competition, and social life. There is freedom in other avenues and aspects. But is the freedom worth the loneliness? Something you might want to think about. Discipline. Build strong self-study habits. You have enough time to do that. Learns time management under pressure. What better than this? Because pressure testing is the most important. Both have different kind of grinds, of course. Mental load. Let's see what's happening with them. Heavy. इसमें क्या मैं इस बार कर पाऊंगा? Hits really hard. Exhausting, balancing school, coaching, life. It is all a circus. Droppers, they tend to fear the failure. Schoolgoers, fears are not enough. I mean, they're made strong. They're just so, they've become metal till then, by then. So nothing can really affect them. School life, ghost mode, misses schools, friendship, of course, because you've dropped, the other ones might have taken college, or if not everybody is dropped and has the same career plans, and of course you have major FOMO that happens. Social but exhausted. So many people yet lonely at times because nobody has the same path. Or when you're tired, you just want to be by yourself, but you don't want to be lonely. There's a difference between that. Too much versus too little. Again, there's a struggle for both. Ultimately, family pressure. Parents keep checking in with beta, is bar ho jayega na? So the emo line has come in wherein, of course, लगता है हो जाएगा कि नहीं. Parents compare Sharma ji ka beta while also supporting. Parents are very supportive, but there will always be an unsaid comparison. And Sharma ji ka beta से तो ज़्यादा talented कोई है ही नहीं इस दुनिया में. Different kinds of pressure, but pressure, of course, nonetheless. So let's see what do we have as the final takeaway. A dropper has the freedom to study, but battles self-doubt and isolation. Schoolgoer has exposure and activities, but fights, burnouts, and expectations. Both are running their own versions of an insane race. Competition exam is a crazy preparation, and that you have to time and again gather yourself, pull up your socks, and just keep your head straight. And that is how you crack any of the exams. So, एक का struggle पूरा focus वाला है, दूसरे का पूरा juggle वाला है. Who is going to win? Whoever does it more smartly. So the life of both, be it the schoolgoer or be it the dropper, is equally taxing. Nobody has a free ride here. But it is going to be about how you take it, what you make of it, and that is what is going to script your destiny. I hope this was an interesting session and a motivational session also, just so that you know that both of them have their own struggles. Nobody is having a better time than what you are. So you're all in the grind, and CLAT is very competitive. So please make sure that you have your aims set and your target in place so that there is absolutely no lingering or no meandering from it. That's going to be it. I will see you again next time with another video. If you like, you know what to do. Hit the like button. If you feel your friends could use this, share it with them. And if there's anything that you think that you want me to take up next, please make sure you write in the chat box. And also, what I do want you to write in the chat box is if you could connect with any of the time frame or any of the activity that happened, do let me know. It'll give me a lot of pleasure just to be reading this. Thank you so much. Be it a schoolgoer, be it a dropper, you are all treasured. And just make sure that you have the fuel, the fire that keeps burning inside to keep fueling your preparation. Until next time, thank you so much.